There are people out there who will tell you that if you're going to record good video content, you're going to need a ridiculously expensive camera, a bunch of lighting, microphones, computers, and all that business, and I'm here to tell you that you don't actually need any of that. What you do need is a cell phone. And yes, it's true, I would rather have the cameras, the lighting, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes that's just not practical. And this borderline miraculous device can shoot, edit, and produce while still fitting in your pocket. And that's pretty handy. There are a few basics about video production, especially for the internet, that you need to understand before you start creating content with your cell phone, and that's what this little series is about. We're going to break it down in just a few simple videos with some tips and tricks about how to get your content out there in a way that is both going to fit in and be seen as part of the world in which it exists. This first little video here is dedicated to the basic planning question of how do I hold my phone? And that question has two parts. And the first part is, well, you have to decide which camera you're going to use. Most modern phones have at least two lenses on the back of the camera, and these are going to give you the highest quality image, but they have the downside of not being able to see yourself when you go to, selfie it out. The camera on the front allows you to see yourself, but doesn't have the same resolution capabilities. So it's a give and take. You have to either get comfortable not seeing yourself or sacrifice a little bit of resolution. And that really comes down to where is the video going to live. I mean, if you're going to put it in line with a bunch of high resolution stuff, you're probably going to want to figure out how to find yourself a frame while not looking at the camera. And then that's part one. Part two is horizontal or vertical, horizontal or vertical. This really comes down to where is this content going to live. If you're putting a video on YouTube or some other place that's going to cater to more traditional, like longish form content, you're going to want to go horizontal because that's just how we have sort of trained ourselves to view that kind of content. And honestly, a large part of that is dealing with the fact that most people, when they're watching YouTube, they're still watching on a computer, not on their mobile device. If you're talking about social media though, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, that kind of stuff, you're gonna want to turn it vertically. And this comes back to just how you interact with those apps. Think about how you use TikTok. You're not looking at your phone like this. No, you've got it vertically and you're swiping through the content. And so that's how you need your content to present itself on that application. You want it to fill as much of the screen as possible so that you take up as much of everyone's attention as possible. Once you've decided whether you're going to hold it horizontally or vertically, the next question is, what resolution do we shoot in? So most cameras and cell phones and all of that are going to natively shoot in 16:9, which is 1920x1080, which is, of course, full HD. And that's great for YouTube. That's great for a lot of different things. But when you start talking about shooting vertically, we have another couple of questions. We have to consider whether or not this is going on a platform that's going to take up the full screen or just a chunk of it. So if you're doing something like, again, TikTok or Instagram stories, Facebook stories, YouTube shorts now, those are going to be full screen on your phone, but rather than being 1920x1080, it's actually 1080x1920. The phone will take care of that for you as long as you've got it in full screen mode when you're shooting. It's just something to consider. Once you move into things like actual Facebook news feeds or Instagram feeds, stuff like that, this is where it gets a little tricky because you're going to want to, instead of shooting 16:9, you're going to want to shoot 1:1, which is 1080x1080. That's that square video that you see on those platforms. Most cell phones will give you that option as a recording interface. You can also fix it in post, but it's always easier to shoot what you need than it is to shoot and then fix later. Really, honestly, when it comes to how to hold my phone, how to orient it, the biggest thing to remember is just simply, where is this content going to live and how do I expect my audience to interact with it? Once you answer that question, you should be good to go.